Welcome to the Bible Feed podcast, a place for conversations about the Bible and faith in the modern world, where ordinary people come together to help each other understand the Bible better. Let's get started.
Okay, thanks for joining us. We're here to talk about faith and this Bible Feed conversation. We've had quite a few conversations about faith in Bible Feed. We've been able to explore what it is in the Bible, maybe bust a few of the myths about it. We want to try and work out exactly what it is. And right now, we're going to talk about faith practically. We're going to talk about faith in action. And I'm really pleased that we've got Mick and Karen to discuss this with me. Hi, you all right?
Yeah.
Very well, you?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, so you're joining me all the way from Anglesey, North Wales, which is great. Yeah,
West Ham.
Yeah, so really pleased to have you with us, and this is what it's all about, isn't it? I suppose we can talk about faith theoretically over and over again. We can talk about sort of belief in your head over and over again, but actually faith in action is kind of really what it's all about. People like you and me, ordinary people, normal people,
Absolutely.
Trying to live these things.
Absolutely. I mean, faith has to be part of our lives, isn't it? It's not something that's just a textbook to be followed.
Absolutely.
It's something that's got to be, a lived life.
And in a practical way as well, yes, and in an outreach type way as well. I think for those that sort of you live amongst, I think.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. So there's an imperative, isn't there, from believing something, from reading the Bible, learning how to read it, working out what it means, what it's saying to you, having faith in it, and then, what does that mean to in a day-to-day life?
Absolutely.
That's the sort of thing we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely, and that's the key point, isn't it? Because it's not just about when times are hard. It's life good and bad, isn't it? And recognising that, in essence, Jesus overcame death for us, and if we can keep that at the forefront of our minds, it does put life in perspective.
Absolutely, yeah. So the faith you brought Jesus into it really early on, which is nice. It's really good. And I was going to sort of ask. Let's just really quickly. What is faith? What's faith to you? What do you mean by that?
I think it's such a big subject, isn't it? But I think it's the classic sort of terminology is believing in something that you've never seen, isn't it? Which is quite an abstract concept, I think, for some people. But I don't know. Do you want to say any more on that?
No, it's something that we don't have physical evidence, but it's something that we inherently know is true.
And feel, really. It's a feeling, isn't it?
We can look at our Bibles and see all those incredible things that have been done for us, but we still have to have that leap of, I want to say leap of faith, that leap of belief that it is true.
Yeah, it's the conviction, isn't it? You get that, isn't it? Yeah, conviction that this thing that I can't actually fully measure. I can't show you a video clip of this particular thing, and but actually all the different little pieces of evidence, like the jigsaw puzzle, they stack up and they say actually point towards this thing being real. You talked about Jesus.
Yes.
Straight away, and he's a historical figure, isn't he? So, a man from history that you can look back in history and think about him historically. But then it would lead to a building of evidence that you can actually, you can have faith in Jesus. That's, I guess, what you're leading on to, which takes you to the next level, really.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Because as you say, we can see that Jesus was in the Bible, and you say that there's evidence outside of the Bible that suggests that he did exist. But then you've also got the things that he did that to somebody looking in might seem a little bit outlandish, turning water into wine and bringing people back to life. But we have to, by faith, recognise that as a miracle that's come from his Father. And that in turn enables us to act on that faith. I mean, I think I said to you before, when I realised the importance of aligning myself with Jesus, I said I felt like the Ethiopian eunuch. What have I got to do now? What must I do next? And I really felt a sense of urgency when I decided to get baptised.
Yeah,
that's perhaps different for me because I didn't come from a religious background.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So whereas you did.
Yeah, I think it can be quite a different experience, can't it? Whereas I've grown up always having religion in my life, and I almost had to separate out sort of, do I have faith because it's something I've always been told, or do I have faith because it's coming from me? And that was quite a dilemma, whereas you had a sort of almost like sudden
for myself, I had no Bible background, but always felt there was something. And like the Ethiopian eunuch, he's there sitting there going, well, where do I go? What have I got to do? And once somebody was able to sit with me and show me the keys to enable me to move forward, I had to do something about it. I can remember because we were together even then, and the sense of urgency and the excitement about getting baptized was incredible. This need to belong to Jesus. But it's all to do with faith. You've got to have that belief that it's true.
Yeah, this is really interesting. This is the different experiences. And Mick, you talked about the Ethiopian eunuch. So you're talking about Acts chapter 8, aren't you? I think when it's Philip who meets this chap in a chariot who's reading Isaiah.
Isaiah, yeah,
and he's sort of saying, "Look, I've no idea what this means. Is the prophet talking about himself, or is he talking about somebody else?" And then Philip explains to him all about Jesus. He basically says, "Let me introduce you to Jesus. Now read Isaiah again," and you can see Jesus in that. And like you say, that must have been a light bulb moment.
Well, absolutely. Well, my version of Philip was a lovely person called Eric.
Oh,
not quite the same ring to, but we sat down.
Were you in a chariot as well?
VW Beetle it was, wasn't it? That's how old he is.
But we sat down together, and I can remember as I was a student nurse at the time, and he used to come round and we used to sit together and just go through what the Bible message was, and I can remember feeling so excited by it, and just this need to know more was just from get-go, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's just wonderful. And then what's really great about what you've said is you've you sort of explained that this faith, the sort of intellectual belief in something, and then faith, which I suppose is also a bit some trust in Jesus, but then that leads you to want to do something about it, which is what we're talking about, faith in action. So you said about being baptized, so being committed to Jesus. So yeah, that's a brilliant sort of starter to thinking about this subject. And then Karen, you've had an experience probably similar to mine in being in a religious environment from a child, and I can sort of empathize with what you're saying, that you have to almost think, is this really my conviction, or is it just me going along with things that I've sort of experienced in my life up to a certain point. And and maybe sometimes that can take an even longer period of time to suddenly get
the words out of my mouth. I think you have almost like a separation away from your sort of family environment, and then a regrowth as you sort of travel along the road of faith. I think you almost relearn new lessons yourself that you can sort of put into your own personal everyday life as you get older, I think, as well. But yeah, definitely it's a completely different process, but you end up sort of meeting along the road somehow, which is amazing, really.
But I guess the issue is the incredible can become mundane, can't it? If you've got this incredible thing in your life every day, it becomes commonplace. And I guess from our perspective, now we're moving on. I mean, I've been baptized 28 years. That's horrific. Yes, I am that old. But it can become quite every day, and that's when your faith can dip, because although it's incredible, as I said, Jesus died for us. If you've got that in your life every day, that suddenly becomes commonplace, and that's quite a contradiction, isn't it? But nonetheless, it potentially is true.
Yeah, I suppose that sort of brings us on to thinking, yes, so faith leads to action at a very specific point in time for someone committing to following Jesus. That's what we've talked about initially. But yeah, 28 years ago, a lot's happened in your life since then, I'm sure. And lifetimes are long times. So yeah, let's think about how else does faith get put into action after that sort of moment of conviction? Presumably it should do it. It needs to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think what we have to accept is life happens. You know, we live our lives, and good things happen and not so good things happen. And that's to everybody. But I think for us who are baptized into the name of Jesus, what we have to accept is things happen to us to get us to the end game. So we believe that we're looking for a day when Jesus will return to the earth and there'll be a kingdom on earth. So from my perspective, whatever happens to me this side of the kingdom is to get me to the kingdom. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes. So you have a conviction, you have faith in a reality in the future when a restored world, new creation, kingdom, whatever sort of term we talk about, and then that then is sort of shaping how you react to things that happen to you in your life.
Yes.
So if that wasn't there in your worldview, if that wasn't in your thoughts, then you might react very differently. You might make different decisions, and as you're journeying through life, that's I guess I guess also what I'm trying to say is that everything that happens, you have to give glory to God, don't you? Yeah.
You might not feel that it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing that's happening to you at the time, but whatever, it's God given, so you have to be thankful.
That's good. Okay, let's just think about sort of day-to-day life. Life. I have a very ordinary life, and I guess you do too. Most people do, don't they? Most people aren't superhumans, but we all do slightly different things, and we have different jobs, and life experience is a bit different. But let's think about sort of day-to-day life. How should your belief affect day-to-day life? I don't know, at work, at home, or whatever. I don't know if you've got any thoughts or any examples or anything on that.
I think it's a difficult question to answer sometimes, isn't it? Because I think sometimes as a believer or as somebody with faith, you can sometimes feel like, well, what could Jesus want from me? And you can think, well, sometimes you feel like you should always be doing big things and I think sometimes it's the little things that make a difference. I mean, we live in quite a small community here, and I think all our neighbours know that we go to church on a Sunday. So I think it's partly how you live your life, isn't it, day to day? I mean, certainly over the last few months, we've tried to make it clear to our neighbours that we're here for them. If there's anything we can do to help on a physical, we've got quite a lot of elderly people that live around, and we've tried to sort of go around and knock on their doors, haven't we, and make sure they're all right. And there's been a lovely community spirit, actually, hasn't there? Certainly on the Thursday night when everybody's gone out and done the clap for the key workers, everybody's like sort of been pulled together, and I think that's a time when you can show sort of an inner peace as well by not sort of creating panic in a difficult situation as well. I mean, that's how we've tried to be. I don't know whether you want to.
I would agree with that. I think I'm a key worker. I think, as I said to you, I work in an intensive care unit as a nurse.
Yeah. So recent months have been pretty.
It's been strange days. That's all I can say. It's been the busiest I've ever been in my life. I think I could safely say all my colleagues would say we've never experienced anything like it. So when the clap started, the first time I must admit, made me quite emotional. This wave of love. But as time's gone on, it's been a little bit. It's okay. Let's get on with our job. It's okay now, and it's been a bit.
I think your faith has helped you though, hasn't it? Because to begin with, I think it was quite a scary step to have to take, wasn't it? But we as a family, we've tried to pray together, and I think that again is another little step that you can do together as a family. And certainly when you've got children as well, you want them to feel like there's a calm as well, and I think that's helped, hasn't it? Prayer and
as a family, we worried because nobody knew how deadly it could be, really. And we talk about the real risk that I could get infected, and if I got infected, what would be the outcome of that? So we had to do some heart searching, and fundamentally, we had to put it down to faith. We had to believe that God is with us, and God will look after us, whatever the outcome.
Yeah. That's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because as far as I'm sort of aware, as far as I read the Bible, there's no sort of special guarantee that you'll not be infected at all. these things, we live our lives and these experiences happen to us. So it's not a case of your faith or our faith is there to make us think we'll ride through life with no problem.
It's not a shield of protection, is it?
No, yeah. but it's a very real mindset, like you said before, about the future kingdom, new creation, whatever, that puts me in their frame of mind and gives me peace to deal with this. That's
exactly it. Because my feeling was, whatever, God is with me. So if I walk through it unaffected, that's God's grace, and thanks be to God. If it was the other option and I became ill, again, I had to trust in God that He will be with me and also be with my family. But there's a difference, isn't there, I guess, between the human version of being okay and the spiritual version of being okay. Humanly, I don't want to be ill, I don't want to die. But spiritually, God will keep me safe and by His grace have me in His kingdom.
So you're not going to be immune from feeling those, worries and anxieties, and because that's probably another sort of misconception maybe about faith, isn't it? That with faith or belief, you should never doubt, you should never feel worried, you should never be anxious, but we all feel that.
Absolutely. I mean, if I go back to that first night of COVID at work, everybody was terrified. There's not one person who wasn't thinking, I might catch this, but nonetheless, everybody was still there.
I think that's a really important point, though, that it's okay to have periods in your life where you don't feel like your faith is strong.
Yes.
And I think, you can look at other people that have a belief and think, oh my goodness, I bet they never have times where their faith is low. But I think it's just human nature, isn't it, to have times where you feel stronger than others. And I think it's how you deal with that. And I think that's why it's good that we have difficulties in our life, because I certainly personally feel my faith stronger when times are harder. I find when life's okay, I can almost forget about it a little bit, and I think that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because just you made me think of all the characters in the Bible that are sort of put forward as people of faith. So the chapter in Hebrews chapter 11, with lots of characters these are examples of faith. It says, and a lot of them go through some tough situations, and actually some of the situations they go through are of their own making, and some of them don't make the right decisions at all times, and yet they are people of faith. But they're people of faith who are sort of living out their life experiences, making mistakes, doubting at times, and so on, and that I think is really helpful, because although we're not nomads wandering around living in tents in the ancient Near East, or like Abraham, or we're not you're an intensive care nurse, but you're living out these sort of same human anxieties, but with faith to help. I mean,
if you look at those people in Hebrews 11, that faith chapter, all of them had life problems. If it was sort of people that had lived perfect lives and had no problems, and they were really successful, that would feel unattainable. But it's reassuring that chapter of faith is full of men and women that have had life experiences, and that's just like us, isn't it? We're having life experiences that are getting us closer to God.
And they're they're shaping us, aren't they? That's which is really So faith in action is there, and it's helping us to sort of shape us to be the sort of people, characters that God's interested in,
and all different as well. I think we're all different people with different qualities.
And again, the person that I was and that you were when we were baptized, compared to the person we are right now, we've changed, haven't we? We're not a different person, but we've grown on that walk. And I'm sure as we carry on, there will be changes as we continue.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, I suppose life throws up lots of different opportunities, or lots of different things, doesn't it? So, does faith in Jesus affect or help you identify priorities? In life. Life's busy, isn't it? I mean, I know the last few months it's been a sitting at home, not for key workers. But
but for me, I've had a lot of time
sitting around. But normally it's quite it's a hectic sort of life. But does faith help in prioritizing things? There's lots of opportunities for us, aren't there?
I think, certainly the situation we've been in, it's taken away a lot of the things that we would normally do. I mean, a lot of people haven't been able to work. We haven't been able to go out for meals, to cinemas, out doing sports. It's stripped life right back, I think, to the bare sort of basics, really. And I think as a family, it's made us realise the things that are really important to us. The things that you're left with can't be taken away from you. And you've got your faith, you've got your family, your friends, your brothers and sisters at your, at church. And God's creation as well. I mean, so many people have been going out just walking and enjoying the countryside and nature, and I think that strengthens my faith, is seeing God's beautiful creation, and just everything just seems more sort of amazing. The simple things in life seem more amazing, I think.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to appreciate it when you're racing around doing from one thing to the next. And actually, that's
more time. I mean, not everybody, but I think a lot of people have had time to reflect on things that are really important in life, and think about your own sort of individual walk as well.
Yeah, but I think as you say, everything has been stripped right back. But for those of us that have faith, that can't be stripped away, can it? It's almost like this moment of reflection has really enhanced your faith. Does that make sense? You've had time to stop and reflect and think about where we are and what today actually means in the man of God.
Yeah, and I suppose as well, it's quite sobering to think that so many people have sort of faced or come close to death. We've been sort of almost forced to think about our own mortality, and so actually, what is it all about? What can we what's good in life? What is it that we should be trying to do? And faith plays a big part in that, like you've said.
I think,
and faith based on in some of the other conversations I've been having, we've been having faith based on historical evidence, based on something, not just a faith plucked out of thin air, but a faith that's firmly based can then really mean something in a time like this. Yeah,
definitely.
And I think as well, it's, for some people, it's been quite an anxious time, and I found it quite difficult at times, knowing what to do to help. And I think, I've thought, well, what can I do? Maybe pick up the phone to somebody that you wouldn't normally phone, or just send a text message to somebody, and it makes you feel better. You don't necessarily do it to make yourself feel good, but I think naturally, if you're feeling anxious about a situation, if you give out to someone else, you often then find that your day just feels better somehow. And that's how I found I've coped with it a lot of the time.
So responded by sort of giving in a sense. That's interesting, because I was going to think about periods of crisis that we've obviously been living through, a sort of global period of crisis, haven't we, really? And but it's not that's not the first, and there's probably another one around the corner, and periods of national crisis, or maybe just family crises as well. I think these things happen, don't they? So how does faith teach us to respond in times when there is lots of sort of human suffering or human difficulty in times like this? I suppose what you've just started off by saying, in times like that, it's good to give, to think about those in need. That's it. It's made me think a little bit about that. I don't know if it has. Has you?
Yeah, I mean, we are living in really strange and quite volatile times, aren't we? Where people are questioning how people deal with other people. I think, again, if we take it with the eye of faith and think, well, how does God view this? Well, the Bible is full of equality, isn't it? In Romans, it's there's neither bond nor free, there's neither Jew nor Greek, and so I'm deliberately trying not to paraphrase it, but it's there is a very much an inference that God views mankind as equal. Absolutely. That the rich know better than the poor, and so on and so forth. But I think it's obvious to me that it's man that's corrupted this, isn't it? Man has created these inequalities. So I guess what we have to try and do is see it from a God perspective. What were the blueprints in the Bible in how we should treat each other?
Yeah, that's really good, isn't it? So, like you say, Romans, the letter very much about Jews and Gentiles in believers needing to get on. Then Galatians about slaves, and that in Christ there's neither slave nor free man, Jew and Gentile, male and female. So equality is there, and it's been eye-opening, really, hasn't it? That I found that when difficulties strike, yes, undoubtedly there are lots of displays of human compassion, which is wonderful and to be lauded. That's really good. But there's a lot of displays of human selfishness as well, and which really, just all the panic buying and
I know.
I think what you see is that all the colours of humanity. Don't you? You see that I must make sure I've got enough toilet rolls for me, versus somebody else going, "Have you got enough?"
We've got a lady in the village who set up a food bank.
Oh, wonderful!
Outside her front door, and then there's been somebody else going around painting stones and leaving them on our doorsteps. And sometimes it's little things that change your day, and you wouldn't think that would be such an important thing, but it has. It's made a difference. And I received one of those stones one day on a day where I was not feeling 100%, and it changed my day. And somebody just painted a little stone, and I think that is part of your faith, isn't it? It's doing something little sometimes, not a big outward show. Just using your best talent, I think, to help others.
Yeah,
it's reaching out to one another and saying, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, and that's interesting, because there's a lot of that happening. From people with faith, without faith, and a lot of people doing that. But in a sort of a global or a national context, there's all sorts of wrangling about what they should do, spending money on things, trying to make sure the economy gets going so that people don't lose out, but that is actually going to kill people. But there's lots of real tricky situations, and then some countries covering up the actual data of the pandemic, and then some countries not actually locking down and more people dying. There's some quite concerning sort of displays of humanity, isn't there? Which really, those of us of faith who can, try and display that in these sorts of times by those little gestures as much as possible to try and be a light in a dark time.
I think again, taking it back again, I feel that I've been shown the Bible message by God's grace. God has shown me grace. So in turn, I have to show grace to people around me. That's the blueprint.
Kindness, really, isn't it? It's kindness.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's this doing things for others, not because you feel that you have to or you must, but just because. I want to be kind to my fellow man because.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I guess that's what it's really all about, isn't it? This is what God wants the faith to lead us to. Is to actually sort of fulfill, a life of love which He is showing to us, and actually fulfill that, in the end. So that's kind of, I suppose what it's all about. So all the, study of the Bible, all of the reading it, understanding it, builds towards this faith that then turns into faith in action, which is, the things we've been talking about. And it's really good, actually. We've talked about really sort of mundane things, going to work, dropping off food, just lots of little things. And actually, that is faith in action. Doesn't have to be, traveling around the world and doing all sorts of, big and well publicized things. It's little things which mean something.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to do with a big symbol and go, look what I'm doing, everybody, look how good I'm being. But it's the quiet things that you do that God can see. It's not about what your neighbour can see per se. It's about your relationship with God and the fact that you're doing it because of the love that's been shown you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what Jesus said, isn't it? And in Matthew 5, I think, 5, 6 and 7, the Sermon on the Mount. Do these things in secret because your Father who sees in secret will see and reward. And absolutely. So do all these things to be like Jesus and be like God and show those things. I think that's a really good place to sort of wrap up. I think it's been a really good conversation. Thank you both very much.
Thank you. Really enjoyed that.
You.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for having us.
It's good. It's really, really, it's always very stimulating and inspiring to have conversations like this. So really appreciate it. And and thank you everyone for sort of catching up on this conversation and following along with us. And hopefully you've all enjoyed it. And hopefully this is something which has helped deepen your appreciation for biblical faith and really, just a small way of demonstrating that faith is in action. Faith can be in action in sort of day-to-day life. So we're really, really pleased that you've joined with us. As always, give us some questions, comments, or ideas. Look at our website, www.biblefeed.org. You can look at us on our Facebook page. You can email us, info@biblefeed.org, and look forward to being with you next time. So thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Bible Feed podcast. Thanks for joining us. We're always keen to hear what you think, hear your questions or subjects you'd like us to discuss. Get in touch with us on our Facebook page or send a message from our webpage at biblefeed.org and be part of the journey.